What was the approach that finally got me to speak Spanish fluently? I can tell you the answer lie in that very question. And the word I'm referring to is approach, strategy. How did I go about it? What was unique and different about the way I did it this time versus times in the past? That is the topic of today's video. My name is Scott Bryant. I am the founder of the Calisand Method, which is all focused on speaking fluency and the challenges and strategies to do. Today's video, I'm gonna talk about my own personal experience. In a prior video, I described the fact that I was able to achieve a level of fluency in a year. I went from a B1 level to a C1 level. But most importantly, it was the approach, the strategy that I developed to get there. And that is what I'm going to share with you in today's video. So this approach that I developed to gain fluency included a number of elements. This is intended to provide a broad brushstroke of 3 game-changing approaches or strategies that really made this all possible for me. The first of these was the use of technology and artificial intelligence. This approach that I developed was rooted in technology. It is what made this possible. So to put this in perspective, my first foray into trying to achieve fluency happened in the early 90s. I went to Spain. I spent summers there and did everything possible at the time to achieve a level of fluency. But I walked around with a pocket dictionary, a physical 3-inch by 5-inch dictionary with a limited number of words that I was translating. Fast forward to today, it is insane the amount of great content that is available to everyone, largely free of charge. But the trick to all of that is to decide which pieces of that technology will help you achieve speaking fluency. So for me, I really wasn't that interested in learning to write well, to read. I don't want to say that those aren't important elements. I put those in the category of general knowledge of the language. But what I was focused on is the performance-based skill of speaking. So I wanted to leverage technology, and there's a lot of pieces to do that. Technologies to help you work on your pronunciation. How to start to hear and understand how native speakers speak. Is there a way that you can, on a daily basis, hear phrases spoken both in English and then how they would say the same thing in Spanish? I use technology to do that. And then most importantly, and I would say the bedrock and foundation of this whole thing, was a platform focused on spaced repetition learning, SLR. It's a relatively new technology. A lot of people don't know of it, yet it's profoundly important. And it's all about retention, right? If you learn vocabulary, but then you later forget that vocabulary, it's as if you never learned it. You've wasted your time. So it's a platform in a sense that helps you retain that knowledge by resurfacing what you learned in the past at specific intervals when you're about to forget it, if you will. The approach I had took into account multiple different technologies and focused on the act of speaking. And that was critical. That was element number 1. The second most important aspect of this approach was practice. It sounds so simple, but it's so profoundly important and so profoundly missing from traditional approaches. As I've mentioned in previous videos, speaking is a skill. It is based on knowledge, but it is a skill. Skills cannot be developed without consistent practice, preparation for that skill. Think of any skill, hitting a baseball, playing a musical instrument, whatever it is. People don't achieve fluency with those skills without practice. I mean, by yourself, in a room, alone, practicing your craft, taking the knowledge that you've achieved through study and turning it into a skill, something that you can execute, create muscle memory. You don't play a guitar with fluency without muscle memory. You're not thinking about the notes you're going to strum. You just strum. They do it. That's what speaking is. It's all about a skill that comes from muscle memory that requires practice, preparation. When you talk about gaining fluency, speaking fluency, and you talk to somebody and they say, oh, okay, so what do you need to do that? You need to talk to people. You need to engage in dialogue, have conversations. And I completely disagree with that. That is not practice. That is performance. Performance is what we're trying to achieve. That's the goal. How do you get there? You practice. If you practice in front of someone else, with someone else, it's performance. Progress happens when you're free of distraction and you can focus on what you need to do and prepare yourself for what will become performance. It needs to be constant. It's daily. If you're learning to play the guitar, you do it every day. You don't have to do it all day, but you have to do it in little increments every day. You got to sit down by yourself, practice. It's got to be fun. It's got to be enjoyable. But if it does, you make massive progress. And you get to the point where someday you take the stage and you play in front of other people. But this whole thing called preparation and practice is largely missing from, I think, any a traditional approach I would have considered around speaking Spanish. Number 3 in the category of big, bold, important elements of the approach I implemented to gain fluency is personalization. And when I say personalization, I'm talking about things that matter to me, that is unique to me, and translate me to you. In other words, you as the student, that you're learning content that you care about, that you want to learn, that brings you joy, that helps you achieve your goal. I've looked at a lot of language learning applications, traditional approaches. Everything has the best of intention. They use the term personalization. But if it's a broadcast media to the masses via an application, by definition, it can't be personalized. The creators of that content are making assumptions as to what you want to learn and care about. And anybody that uses Duolingo in these applications understand that concept. There's always things that, I don't want to learn the word for marshmallow in Spanish, but I got to get through this lesson. I took a very unique approach in creating content that I wanted to study. I took this big, broad thing called language, and it's huge, as we all know, and shrunk it down to focus on the words, the phrases, the context, at a level that was specific to me. Not only did I have the content and the words and the things that I wanted to learn, but I did it also at my level. I spent a lot of time learning the guitar as an adult, and one of the things I learned very clearly is the fact that the level of study has to be spot on. It can't be too far out of reach or you'll get frustrated and give up. If it's too easy, you don't progress. It's got to be right at your level, right? Got to be very specific to you as the student, what you're learning. And it has to be focused on things you care about. Similarly, when I learned to play the guitar, day one, because of YouTube and the content, the freely available content out there, I started playing songs that I liked and I loved and that brought joy to me from day one. And I did the same thing with my approach with Spanish. So personalization was absolutely huge. And probably, again, in broad categories of what made this approach unique, personalization was it, without a doubt. All right, so in conclusion, I want to leave you with this, right? I've outlined some of the things that really help move the needle for me, right? I understand that my input in this video has been very broad and not specific to help you find what you want to do. But I would ask you to pause and think about how you're going about learning the language, learning to speak the language. Do you have a strategy that makes sense to you, that's working, or that you think will work? And I would ask you about those 3 elements. Are you leveraging technology? Do you really have a handle on what technology you should be using and how you should be using it? Secondly, I would say, is there an element of daily practice in what you're doing? Are you sitting alone by yourself practicing the art of speaking? And thirdly, is what you're doing personalized? Is it stuff that's fun, it's interesting, it's relevant to you at your level? Those are the questions I would ask yourself. So thank you for your time today, and good luck on your journey. And don't forget our website dedicated to all things speaking Spanish, calistanmethod.com.